Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, got to put my headset in. Hey y'all, hey. So I'm so excited to talk to you guys about everything, to you ladies, to you women's, about all the things with digital nomadism and stuff. I'm really interested in like conversation and community, so I would love to have you all introduce yourself. I have my laptop open for when y'all are ready. I have my tea popping. My throat is a lot of it sore. My curls are popping, but they're popping out of place. But yes, we'll have our special guest Tanisha on. She's coming in half an hour. And yeah. So basically, let me just give you like a little rundown. Let me take a sip. I started Black Women Digital Nomad Entrepreneurs because I didn't really see that there was a space specifically for us, Black women specifically, like making travel and work happen abroad. And a lot of us come from families where women have always kind of had their own side hustle, had their own little thing that they did, because Black women are ingenuitive as fuck. Oh, I'll cuss a little bit, so sorry if that offends you. But yeah, so I was just really interested in like creating this space and, like I said, having community and trying to have conversations around what it is to be a person that intersects at all of these places, being Black, being a woman, being location independent, and also trying to have your own venture as well. So yeah, it has been like almost 3 years, I think, for the group. For me, traveling as a nomad myself, it's been about 4 years. I've met a lot of folks, a lot of you ladies in person, and you've been just like so juicy, wonderful, deluxe. Something that I do find interesting is I think that a lot of you are shy about putting yourselves out there. And I say that because, like, I'm in a lot of travel groups and I see the types of questions that they post. And a lot of you are in the same travel groups with me, and you will post questions in those groups that you wouldn't post in this group, which I find very, very interesting. And so I think it's a confidence thing, maybe a trust thing as well, not knowing who's in this community, not feeling safe enough to ask the questions that you want to ask. Also, what I do is I will do the group new member intro post thing, but I also message each and every one of you individually. Each and every one. So there's like 600 members, and I do it like once a year. I try to. Just to personalize it because it is personal. And that's the experience that I wanted it to be. All of you are very important to the community because that's what community is made up of, people. So in an effort to try to stimulate group activity and an effort for me to understand who's actually in the group, that's something that I try to do, is holla at y'all individual. And a lot of times y'all tell me stuff that you won't or never will post in the group, or just haven't, maybe not ever will. So yeah, let me check and see what's going on. Okay. I also started this past June. I started airing the interviews. So I started the Black Women Travel podcast. It's been really, really dope. It's been like so amazing dope. And I wanted to start with members from the group specifically. And if they weren't in the group, I wanted to invite them in the group as well. Because like your stories are absolutely fascinating and it's so varied. And I think that it's important to have that representation that being a digital nomad doesn't look one way. And you all show me that every single interview. All of you are so really dope and uniquely different in how you have started your journey, how you're continuing your journey, the things you've had to encounter along your journey, your age differences. Some of you are married with children. It's really, really dope being able to connect with y'all. Let me see. So yeah, that was also an effort to try and share more stories about women who are making it happen. I think that there are quite a few in the group who also are in the planning stages. And a lot of times it's really, really hard when you're in your home country and you have this idea, and a lot of times you don't have the support. People have no idea what it is that you actually want to do. People are afraid of what you want to do because they would never try to live so honestly. And so it can be difficult to like make it happen. A lot of you that I've talked to are like, I zipped myself up, like I answered all the questions that anyone could possibly ask. Or some of you were like, I wasn't even in a space to listen to those people. I knew what I wanted whenever they were making the plans to travel. So I found that really interesting too, how really cool the stories are, how everyone is making it work for them. And a lot of times we have to have work to support ourselves while we're building this online business. I think that that is a big difference when it comes to nomading for Black women and people that happen to not be Black women, which is very unfortunate for them. But there are a lot of reasons for that, right? And I have ideas for why it's often different, but I believe that it is different, and it's not necessarily based on skills because we've always been the best. We put people in space. And that's just one example. Like, we've done countless other things as Black women around the world. But so being able to offer whatever it is you're able to offer virtually, a lot of times there are, I think, can be some extra layers that you have to go through in order to make that happen. And I'm totally interested in what y'all have to say whenever y'all ask your questions. So let me pause real quick for the cause. See if I have anybody on here with me. This rogue curl is really getting to me. So let's see, what else can we talk about? Something that I find um, for my ladies trying to put their concepts together, a lot of times it could be like, how can I get this done like as quickly as possible? Or, hey girl, hey, my boo is on. Man, sometimes technology makes me feel like a grandma. Okay, there we go. My ladies can be like, man, how do I even get started? I've been trying to figure this out. And I think it's really important that you are super in tune with yourself, that you are super aware of what it is you got going on, and then do the work to figure out how to offer that thing. That doesn't mean that people are going to pay you for it, but they might. And it might be enough people to pay you for it that will sustain your travels. And it depends on what kind of traveling you want to do. We travel all kinds of ways. Some people like living in Western countries. Some people like living in Eastern countries, like, or South America, like. So depending on where, so that's why it's important to understand like what it is you really want to do. If you know where you want to explore, you know how much it costs to explore there. You can understand more about what you have to offer and how you're pricing what you have to offer, and if it is sustainable for you to travel like that there. And if not, a lot of times you can travel for longer in a country that has a lower cost of living, and that just makes it easier on yourself to build your brand, build your customers. I think sometimes it is easier to do that out of your home country. Sometimes we want to have everything set up before we leave. We want to have like a bang-in client list, a pop-in client list, and sometimes you can't see what you can't see because you are in the same environment and around the same kind of people. And it doesn't matter how much you read online, really, because the stuff that other people are doing worked for them, but that may not work for you. So if you are able to leave and go to wherever it is you want to start, sometimes you can meet people and things happen. You're able to spend more time doing the things you enjoy. You're learning to manage your time better. You have conversations, things kind of spark and take off, and you start to hone what it is you're doing. You start to put yourself out there a bit more. Also be careful though, because whoever you take on this trip with you is the person that arrives with you. So whatever baggage you have, whatever physical, mental, spiritual, psychological, I guess that's mental, whatever it is that you were dealing with back home, you are absolutely taking that with you, unless you are consciously working on shedding that, like stripping those layers off, so that you could be the person that you need to be in order to do the business that you want to do, in order to travel the way that you want to travel. So whenever people ask me like, hey, how do I start? And it's just like, hey, who are you? Do you know? Have you taken the time to get to know yourself? I think that's super, super important. I think that's the foundation. Who are you? How are you? What things are you doing in order to stabilize yourself if you are traveling alone and not with friends or family, which a lot of us are. Some of us, there are quite a few ladies actually that are traveling with families and making that work. That's a whole other dynamic. But yeah, really channeling into that person, what it is that you want to do, where do you want to go, how much money do you need to make, but most specifically, like, you. figuring that part out. Mm. Hold tight, little sisters. Oh, yeah. She's so crazy. Oh, hey, girl. So, what is another question I get? What else do I get? What else do I get? How to start. In terms of travel, like I said, there's lots of ways to travel. A lot of ladies like to have a home base. So that's where you spend most of your time, and then maybe you do visa runs, or maybe visa runs is when you leave the country and go to another country, and you stay for however long you want out of the country, and then you come back to that country. So sometimes people do that with Thailand. They enjoy all over Thailand. There are nomads everywhere. Black people have seem to have had good experiences overall in Thailand. So that seems to be the entry point, I like to say, I guess. Okay, girl, I see you. Um, Let me just finish this sentence. So Thailand seems to be really popular, and I guess black people kind of wait to see if it's safe, and then if they hear other black people talking about it, then they go. Um, and Thailand is one of those places where that has happened, it seems, and so there are quite a few black folks in Thailand. Um, so people will get their apartment in Thailand and get their little visa situation and leave for a week or a day or whatever, just cross the border for an hour or so and then come back. Some people are teaching English. That is a huge way that people are able to afford to be able to travel. And so they'll have a work permit. And then like on vacations, they just kind of go around the region or go back home, like work it out however they want to work it out that way. So Tanisha is here. Tanisha is here. So let me ask baby girl. Sorry for the wobble. Oh. Hi Tanisha. It says you can't go live with me right now. So hey Stephanie. Hi Stephanie. Hi Stephanie. It's been so long. If y'all haven't listened to Stephanie's episode on the Black Women Travel podcast, you absolutely must. Yeah, I noticed it's not adding you. Are you in port? No, landscape mode. Landscape is the long mode. So you have to be in landscape and you have to be on your phone. Otherwise, it's not going to let you in. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to send that to you. I just sent it to the group. Stephanie, lady, how are you? How you doing? It's interesting. Hmm. Oh, okay, okay. She got to get her phone. Stephanie, you want to pop on? Are you on your mobile phone? You don't have to. I was just, since you're here. If you're on mobile, I can invite you in to say hey to the girls. Let me think of another question. to get started, how people travel. I think sometimes there are feelings around women, like going back home for a little bit. Yes. Going back home for a little bit, and there's like absolutely nothing wrong with that. Being a digital nomad is mostly being like independent. So just because you are currently, just because you are currently like uh, back home. Oh, you haven't. Just because you're back home not traveling doesn't mean you're still not a digital nomad. There she is. There she is. I'm good.
It's
How
something you
you doing?
have no idea.
How's your day been?
It's been good. Look, I just woke up like 30 minutes ago, but we can talk about
Yes,
that.
we will. Yes, we
uh,
will.
but listen, my headphones. Oh dear. It's been good. I literally just woke up, got up early for you
Hey,
because
Tawanda.
look,
Stephanie,
after
your show.
months after
Sorry,
strong,
Stephanie.
strong, I'm sorry y'all looked at all of my pimples. Um after months of strong, like, I don't want enough living. I don't want enough.
Hey, Tawanda. Tanisha,
You
all
can
we
hear me
see.
talking background, right?
I
Hold on,
might,
give me a second.
I might have been calling you Stephanie this whole time. My bad. Tanisha seems like your shoulder. You are on the move and on the groove.
I know what's happening. Hold on. Uh, I unpicked.
That ceiling is wonderful.
Okay,
Hey,
sorry, baby.
Taiwanda, thanks for stopping by, love.
There we go. Thank you. All right. I'm like, I'm trying to go. Y'all are ruining my funk. Okay. And, hold on. But how do I get you to stop talking in the background?
Oh, first of all, you should love me
You
talking
hear
in the
that?
background.
That's what I'm saying, but I can't figure out how to make it stop.
I
Okay, hold
don't
on.
know. You mean like an echo?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but no, it feels like it's like a full minute behind.
I mean, that just could be live life. Thank you, Taiwanda. Well, I'll just like not talk over you. Okay, everyone, here's Tanisha. Yay, go.
I know we have some technical difficulties, okay? Because, and I should know how to use this, seeing that I once worked for Facebook. But I'm like, joining live. They added that after I left. So, yeah. Okay.
Oh, wow. It's that delayed. I can even hear it. I don't know why.
See, it's not me. Let me see.
But I mean, you could just talk. It's like,
I know. Okay.
so why don't you introduce yourself to the ladies? Let them know what you've been up to.
Hey, ladies. My name is Tanisha. I'm from Houston, Texas, originally. I was living in Oakland, California for 5 years before moving to Thailand to study traditional Tantra. Um, I just received my 500 yoga teacher hours for the Kaula yoga certification. So, be on the lookout for some yoga retreats next year. And right now I'm taking a bit of a break from the ashram for the next couple of months so that I can start some money flow back into my pockets. And then I'm going to return because I plan on going to study the philosophy and Sanskrit.
That's great. So, what has your experience been like at the ashram?
Oh, the ashram is, oh my God. The ashram is really wonderful, actually. My first couple of months there, I hated life, of course, because, anytime you're in a situation where your, like, for lack of a better term, conditionings or your patterns are being put in front of you,
Interrupted.
you tend to initially want to run from it, right? And then you remember why you were there, and you change course and you start to settle in. So it took me about 2 months to settle in, um, and I had to acknowledge some things that I wasn't aware of that existed inside of me, like why I felt uncomfortable initially at the ashram. And now, you know, it was great. Like I didn't want to leave when I left on Sunday.
Is there still an echo? Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, okay.
So
Um,
maybe should I leave the broadcast and come back in? Maybe that'll help.
Up to you if you want to try it.
Oh, now we're okay. I don't know. We didn't have. Okay, let's try that. Let's try that. I'm gonna leave and then I come back in. Give me a second.
Okay.
Uh,
All right. So yes, hey, it's just me again. Just us chickens. Let's just stop by to say hey y'all. Hey. Oops, this one more steady. And Miss Stephanie is here. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can bring Tanisha back on. Tanisha.
I think we fixed the problem.
So cute.
I was like, girl, yeah.
So, well, thank you very much for trying that. I was wondering, Miss Tanisha, if you had any wisdom to share with the ladies. Some questions that I get sometimes is like, how do you start? Like, what if you don't have like your business up and running whenever it's time for you to leave? Or how do you plan to leave? How do you travel? Like, you can talk about any of those things, really,
Well, I'm in
if
a,
you will.
it, I'm a bit in a special situation because I get like a nominal amount of money every month from the U.S. Navy because I'm a veteran. So it's like $600 a month, which I can float on, so to speak. Although I'm finding that Southeast Asia is more expensive than it used to be, and I'm like, shit. But if I squeeze a little bit tight, I can hang in there. But sometimes it depends. Like it depends. I don't want to say what you're comfortable with because sometimes our comfort zone will keep us stuck, right? So you need to find like this. I call it like an in-between place where you're not leaving with $1 in your bank account. Have a couple of $1,000 in your bank account, and then that can float you for a few months, and then leave. Now, the other advantage that we have is we're English speakers, and every place you go to, they're always looking for English teachers. You could also set
Hmm.
yourself up online as an English teacher, which is what I'm going to be working on doing for the next couple of months, so that I could go back to study at the ashram, which I didn't want to do, but I'm going to do because I actually enjoy teaching kids online. So you could probably set yourself up this way first before leaving, and that way you know you have some money rolling in while you get your business
Yes.
up and running. So I say be responsible, but don't be afraid.
Mm, I like that. That's a good balance. Be responsible, but don't be afraid.
Yeah.
What is it about the ashram that is like calling you back? What's happening there that's making it worth the time?
Well, there's so many things to learn, you know, I want to do a actual. I was telling you about this. I want to do a comparative studies book between Christianity or the symbology of the Bible and the Vedas, because the Vedas, Old Testament Bible, not New Testament Bible, and a lot of religions, so, you know, Egyptian mythology, all these things, they all came about around the same time. And if you kind of look at humanity during that time period, they all had very similar threads in their thinking, even though they were not connected physically to each other. And so, what I've been finding as we study the Vedas and the sutras, like the Shiva Sutras, etc., there's another book we're reading called Paratrishika, is that there's a lot of similarities across the board through all of the religions. So, for example, we all know the word Om. We say it all the time, Om, which is like what we call the waveless wave. It is the first word spoken by the god Shiva that started creating this in a back, you know, in a lack of just kind of making it quick. It's a lot more complicated than that, but it's what started the creation of this thing. And it's like when you read the Bible in the beginning, you know, it says God spoke and let there be light, and there was light, right? So the word Om and the word Amin are the exact same word. And so they mean the same thing. In Christianity, Judaism, we say Amen at the end. In Tantra and the Vedas, they say Om most of the time in the beginning of a prayer. So, but it means the same thing. And so what you find is you see these similarities. The difference is in the Tantric philosophy, they have an unbroken chain. So they still understand the symbology of what was written 10,000 years ago for the most part, if they stayed in the tradition. Unfortunately, the colonization of the British kind of stripped them of a lot of that, but there's still some people who have, you know, gurus from many generations, so there's an unbroken chain. Unlike Christianity and Judaism, where there were so many movements and so many politicizations of those religions, so there's a lot of unbroken chains. So when Christians or Jews are learning their spiritual practice, it has like a political edge to it, just like Islam, it has a political edge to it. And so a lot of the spiritual meat that's there that's supposed to help you reach enlightenment no longer exists, or it's misunderstood. And so for me, because I have so many Christians in my life, and I was a Christian and I was a Jew, that's a long story, we'll talk about that later. I went through the whole process. I decided that I would love to do a comparative studies book where you can compare the meanings, because they're very similar, and in hopes of opening a door for those who are practicing these spiritual practices to see it in a different light. Now, whether they take it and do with it what they want is what they do with it, but my hopes is for people to find a spiritual practice that will help them be better or enhance their lives versus making them feel more restricted, because my opinion is the purpose of us being here is to express bliss, period. So I don't have time for all the other stuff, the other fluff. Thou shalt
So
not wear a head covering.
anywhere else, anywhere else that you've been, any other places and communities and so forth that you've explored, nothing has touched you as this touches you right now, what you're
No,
studying
and
right now.
it's been really interesting. I just had this conversation with the Bhagawan at the ashram, and I was telling him, you know, like I was a Christian at a young age. I basically have been on a spiritual journey since I was a child. I've always asked questions, And I want to make it clear that when I mean spiritual, I don't mean like I need restrictions. I can't, like, that was the one thing that I discovered over time. It's my soul personally does not like restrictions. So when you start telling me all these rules that I need to follow, my soul rebels. It's just like, hell no, I'm not doing it. So, so I was a Christian. I went to Bible college. I have a degree in pastoral studies, you know, an associate's degree. A lot of people don't know that about me, but now you girls do. And then after Bible college, it was like, there's something missing. I remember one of my prayers I said to God, I was like, if I have to be a Christian, I can't follow you. This is not going to work for me, you know? And so I started looking again, and I spent 10 years as a Christian, you know, so I don't like visit a place. But something didn't feel quite right. It didn't click for me. And so I started studying Judaism because I thought maybe the foundation that I had for Christianity is wrong. And since Christianity is based off of Judaism, which, by the way, it is not, you whole another ball game right there. It was some Jews in the Christian Bible. It happened in Israel, but they're not the same. And so I started researching Judaism from a Jewish perspective versus Judaism from a Christian perspective. And I fell in love with Judaism. And so I went through the whole process of a year. You have to go through a whole year process. You have to find a rabbi. I had to study Hebrew and learn the prayers. And then I had to be dipped naked. I had to be baptized naked, y'all, in a mikveh. And I went through that whole full-on process. And I stayed in that for several years. But what ended up happening is being a black woman or experiencing this realm as a black woman, I carry the traumas of my ancestors in my skin and my body. And so being around Jews who also have their own unique trauma and their own anxieties started making me super anxious. Like when I was around them and I couldn't figure out why I was anxious, and it was because their traumas and my traumas were clashing in my body, and I had to make a choice whether or not I was going to lose my damn mind and stick to this religion, or I was going to walk away. Now, and then also some political stuff, you know, which I won't discuss here because that would cause a whole nother ruckus, that also made me decide not to stay a Jew. But also the restrictions. It felt, again, this is where like Christianity, it started to feel really restrictive to my soul. And it was starting to give me, that also added to the anxiety, right? But it never felt, none of those tracks ever felt quite like home. It felt more like I was a long-term visitor sort of situation. Whereas this particular situation is the first time ever. In the beginning, it was very uncomfortable, but once I decided to settle into it and to let go of my own conditionings and patterns, it's for the first time I literally I don't feel like a visitor anymore. I feel like I'm home. And so this has been the first time I've ever had that experience.
What was it? Just intuition that gave you the premonition to even try? It was just like ashram. That sounds nice. Like, let me go do that. Like, how did that happen?
I'm gonna make y'all laugh. The book Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she started talking about how she was gonna go.
Gilbert.
Yeah, she was gonna go to her guru's ashram in India. And I didn't know what an ashram was because I used to be a type of person. I was like, oh my God, I could totally be a nun or a monk, but I don't want to give up sex. I don't want to give up sex, but I can go hide in the mountains somewhere for many years and not look at civilization. That sounds great, but I don't want to give up, enjoying sex. And so I was like, there has to be a place like this somewhere in the world. Key in Elizabeth Gilbert at her ashram. I started doing a little research on them, and that was like 10 years ago. I know it's crazy. But I never made it because I was living in fear as well. So I understand you girls who want to leave but are afraid of falling on your face. Sometimes you got to fall on your face, like whatever, just what the worst can happen. Are you going to die? So, So I had wanted to go to an ashram since about 2009, and but I just never made the leap. And it wasn't until 2017 there was, and I was also interested in Kali, so that came about a couple of years later. And there was a situation that happened in my life, and I was like, you know what? I really need to do this. I started talking to a buddy about learning Tantra, but the only issue that I was having about Tantra is like the way that they were presented it in the Western world was very um, focused on sex only, and that made me feel like there was something missing in the mix.
Oh,
And so I was like, something's missing. I want to study sacred sexuality, yes, but there's more to this than what is being presented. And these women were always talking about how they had their guru in India, la 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 la. So I started looking in India. I was like, well, if I'm going to learn this shit, I'm going to learn it from an Indian guy who has a long ass track tradition, and we're going to study it. And so I started looking in India for ashrams, tantra ashrams, and I had my guru, I had my Bhagawan cracking up. I was like, and half of the website was super neo tantra, which isn't really tantra, but we'll call it neo tantra because that's the word they've given it. Neo tantra. So it was like focus on sex, and then the other ones were all like, we won't even talk about sex. Everything is white, the page is white, the gurus and his students are all dressed in white doing yoga poses. And I was like, it looked like a damn hospital. So I was like, that's definitely not for me. And then I stumbled upon the Sri Kali website, which was like black and yellow, and it was like all these dark colors. And I was like, I'm intrigued. And I started watching the videos of the students. It's so funny. And it was called Sri Kali. That caught my attention because Kali was in the name. And I was like, And I started watching him, and I was like, okay, yoga, asanas, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a story on the website called the Tantric Quest. And it's about a man who went on his tantric quest in like the 1800s before the traditional tantra was completely wiped out by the British because they threatened to chop off the heads of the gurus or they killed them so they couldn't, continue on. And where he got to experience a particular type of couple puja where sex was involved, right? And so after reading that story, I was like, I like this ashram because he doesn't focus on sex, but he doesn't avoid it either. And I have respect for that. And so that's how I ended up at Sri Kali. It took me 2 years, but I got there.
well, it took you not 9, 8
Yeah.
years?
Yeah, I
You
did.
said 2009?
9 is when I started looking into them, but I didn't discover Sri Kali until 2017.
Oh, okay. And that's in Thailand.
Yeah, it was in Goa. It was in India when I was looking for it in
Oh,
2017. And then they moved to Cambodia. And he was like, the energy of Cambodia was really sad. And so he was like, I can't bring people here. And then he moved to Koh Phangan.
word. So you talk about the fears. Did you experience a lot of those fears when you were starting out? You were talking about people having to fall on their face.
Yeah, because for me, a lot of my story is, a kid growing up. Basically, I mean, we were lower middle class, and so, from month to month, anything could go wrong, and we could possibly find ourselves homeless. And so it creates like a trigger around money for me financially, and so I tend to run myself crazy trying to avoid. Um, you know, trying to avoid literally hitting rock bottom, as they would say. But in my process of trying to avoid rock bottom, I create crazy drama for myself in the process of that, right? I find myself in these desperate situations. And what I'm having to do is to break, because I'm not the kid whose mother was raising her on her own and couldn't afford to really do it because she was a young mother. I'm not that kid, and so I have to break the pattern of living in this past. And so, like, some of us, fear around money has a lot to do with our upbringing, and some of us probably had parents who were doing well, but their attitude towards money got infused into our system as well. So even though they had enough, they still have this mindset of anything can happen and we can be impoverished. And so they kind of embed that into their kids, which causes us to be afraid to take leaps to do things we want to do. But what I do know is that when you take the leap and you're on your path, your purpose, you're following your purpose, the universe always meets you. And sometimes that's even hard for me to accept at times because, you know, as a kid, I'm like, universe wouldn't meet me as no kid. Shit, we were struggling, you know? Sorry. And so uh-oh, hold on. Sorry, something happened here. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Anyway, so
Wait, other way, other way.
I
Okay,
know
okay. No, no.
it's doing something weird. What's going on? My phone is being silly. Okay, this way? This way.
Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
This way.
Keep turning. Other way.
All right.
Other way.
There we go.
Okay, there.
All right.
Yes.
My phone decided to do something weird. But anyway, I can't see myself. So
Sorry.
I had to.
You look gorgeous.
Thank you. I have to figure out a way, not figure out, but I just allow that process to be transitioning. Because a lot
So
of our
that
fears
the
come from our
fear,
parents.
but the fear is specifically around money.
Yes, specifically. Because other than that, girl, I'm pretty fearless. I'm pretty fearless about most things. They were like, "What are you doing now?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just gonna go and do something." You know, money is like the last. Well, let me rephrase. Money and intimacy. So I'm working through these two things, and I believe those two things actually are connected.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I'm interested in all these theories you're cooking up,
Yeah,
all these connections you're making.
I have a lot of theories, but a lot of them has a lot to do with just life
Tanisha,
experience.
sorry. Move your thumb.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
there we go. I literally, if you saw the screen, I need to send you a picture of the screen because I can't get it to even out again, and it's irritating me. Shake phone. I'm not trying to shake the phone. You know, like
Oh,
my
a
iPhone.
portrait and
Yeah, it's not in portrait anymore. It's doing something weird, and I can't fix it. My phone is deciding. I'm just gonna send you hearts, girl. My phone has decided to do whatever, so I'm just gonna be like this. You know, hey. Yeah, and so there's a lot of things that I'm learning that I've learned on my own, but being at the ashram has kind of solidified them or has given me a broader perspective.
okay. Um, if you were to be able to talk to yourself when you were 10-year-old Tanisha, what would you tell that young lady,
I
that
tell her
little
to move to,
baby?
I would tell her to move to LA.
Move to LA at 10.
I would tell her to move to LA because I wanted to be a cinematographer when I was a kid. I wanted to make film.
Oh,
And because of the poverty and stuff, I decided to go into the military and to study medicine instead. And it wasn't in line with my soul. My soul is a very creative soul. And when I was a makeup artist, I had an opportunity to move to LA. When I finished my bachelor's degree, I had an opportunity to move to LA. When I finished the military, I had an opportunity to move to LA. And every time I turned it down because I was afraid to believe in myself. So probably the first thing I would say is believe in yourself. And you can do it. Basically, you have the ability to do whatever you put your mind to, and don't worry. And then take your ass to LA. Simple.
so are you going
No.
after you do your ashram? Oh, fine.
Only being, I mean, I'm open to it actually. I can't say no. I'm open to it because I would not mind.
But you just did though.
I know I would not mind. I would not mind actually going. But I think for me, what's going on with me right now is that I don't have any desire, and I've been like this since I was a kid as well. But even more so as I've gotten older, I have no desire whatsoever to live in the United States.
Oh yeah, there's that.
Yeah, and so that kind of, I'm trying to figure out a way um, to kind of live out my path without having to physically be in the U.S.
Mm, that's really dope. Well, is there anything that you want to share with the girls?
I don't know. I feel like I shared everything. You guys know more about me than some folks that's been in my life for 10 years. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, like, if you guys are, I would say to the ladies, if you are wanting to do something that is out of the ordinary for you, to
Mm,
do it. Because if you want to accomplish the extraordinary, you're going to have to step out of your box. Period. You cannot accomplish the extraordinary in your comfort zone. And don't worry about, because I heard you're talking earlier. Don't worry about stuff like, well, what is it like for Black people in this place? What is it like for Black people in this place? Because I like to say this to people a lot. Your experience may be completely different from someone else's experiences. I've been in
absolutely.
countries where Black people have had hard times with racism, and I did not experience those things while I was there. Not because I'm special, it's just my experience was different. So don't worry about those things unless it's like really like, if it's like Nazi Germany or something, or Nazi Eastern Europe or something like that, which doesn't exist anymore,
Or
but it,
America.
or America, you get what I mean? Like if it's something like that, or they're in the middle of a war zone, okay, that's different. But in generally speaking, my experience of life, and I've been to 16 countries, 17 countries so far in life, is that people have been really welcoming. Maybe their governments have not been so welcoming to me, but the people themselves have been. And the people to me are who make up the country. So just, go with it. If you have a desire to be in a place, go. At least try. And if you don't like it, you can say, well, at least I showed up and I found out that I didn't like it, so I could just keep it moving.
And a lot of times it is easy to keep it moving, like because you don't have anything really keeping you there.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important too. It's like, yeah, some places you may have an idea about and it may not work out, but you can leave.
You're right, exactly. You can
And
leave.
it's not gonna break. Yeah, it's not gonna break you.
Right. And
Well, hopefully.
be willing to take the risks.
Yes.
Be willing to take the risks because here's the thing. The one sure thing you can bet on is yourself.
All
we
day, every day.
all day every day, okay? And I'm
And
having
if you
to
can't bet on yourself, then you should get yourself to the place where you can bet on yourself because
exactly. Exactly.
you all you got.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
What were you
love it.
gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, we'll bet on other people, but we won't have the same confidence in ourselves. And I get it because you have to build it. Um, you have to build that confidence in
Mm.
yourself by, saying it, you know. But sometimes you just got to take those leaps.
And sometimes the leaps are like you get to walk and then walk fast
Yeah.
and then run
Yeah.
and then jump. So building that
Exactly.
trust is
Seriously.
is is exactly, yeah. Building trust is that process. Okay, I'm going to save this amount this month. Okay, I'm going to save this amount over the year, or I'm going to um, do research on this and make plans for this and have a ask somebody who lives here what it's like, or like whatever it is, whatever tangible steps that you could take and follow
Right.
through to like honor
Yeah.
what it is that you're trying to do.
One
So
thing
I think
I've
that
done,
that's really important.
the one thing that I have done though is, like, for example, I knew I wanted to come to the ashram I didn't know what my money situation was going to be like. So what I did was, because at the time I was working as a um, freelancer at Facebook, and it didn't really pay much because I was working through an agency, right? So what I did was, is I bought the plane ticket. I bought the plane ticket, and then from that point, I started planning towards the plane ticket date. I'm saving this amount of money. There's have before I leave. So I would buy those things and then I would put money back. And so it gave me an expiration date in a way.
Yeah.
So for some of you who, like you can't, like I cannot function until I have something tangible. And so the plane ticket was the tangible thing.
Yeah. That's really cool. I like that a lot. Because that's commitment, right?
So I have a friend, she would always say, commit to it turning it out, not how it turns out. Because you can plan all day.
Yeah.
I promise you, your plans ain't going to turn out the way you planned them. No.
Ever. Like almost never.
Never.
But sometimes that's a good thing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much so.
Thank you. So cute. Thank you so much, Tanisha. Tanisha.
You and I are going to be meeting up soon since I'm in your hood. For real, for real.
Which like never happens. Like
Right.
never come to. Yeah.
Okay. But it's a great city, though. It's so cute.
I mean, it's fine.
Oh, you know what? I can't with you. I can't with you. It's all right.
I appreciate it. You are, I checked out your site. I linked it because I saw that you were following through because I saw you write in the group about your weekly goals and I saw you doing the things that you said you was going to do. Congratulations.
Yes.
So that's why I
Thank
put
you.
the site up. It's looking
Yes.
gorgeous. It's looking
Thank
so
you.
gorgeous. I'm so happy. Yes.
I'm going to be spending
so-
all day today working on it. So, you know.
So the ladies, for you ladies in the group who are trying to connect with Tanisha, she's on the Facebook and you can go to her website, sincerelytanisha.com. And I already have it up there, out there. But yeah,
Yes.
she's nice. You should talk to her. You should talk to her.
Thank you, Wanda, so much. I'm so happy we connected. So, we'll be all sister when we see each other. And I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. But I'm so happy I connected to you. And thank you for inviting me to this live. I really like connecting with other women and talking to them about or talking with them about where they're going or what they're up to, because it's really fun, especially because Americans in general. I don't think this is just our community, so to speak. But I feel like Americans in general are taught that America is where it's at, and so a lot of times we are afraid to leave. And so it's really nice to talk to people who are like, I'm ready to experience something different or something new.
It's refreshing. Like, it's amazing. Also,
Very much
Tanisha
so.
has an episode of the Black Women Travel podcast coming up soon. It should be this. Is this October yet? September? September. It should be this month.
Oh, really?
It's not September yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be September.
Yay!
Thank you, love.
Thank you. You take care.
I hope the girls connect with you. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right,
Bye,
bye-bye.
ladies.